We've all heard about the obesity epidemic facing our nation, and I'd be very surprised if you hadn't seen some headline or a news story about it, and it is a serious problem. In 2009 and 2010, 35.7% of US adults were obese. So that means if we were to take the adult population, that's 215 million adults, and 35.7% of that, that's about 75 million adults, are obese in the United States. And what exactly does that mean? If we look at the Wikipedia figure, that's how I typically figure things out. There's a healthy body weight, and the next category up is overweight, and the next category above that is obese. And so 35.7% of Americans fit into the obese category. But I think what gets lost in all of this talk is how, at least for me, how I, as an individual, can understand my body weight and understand what's going on to actually affect my body weight. So in this video, we're going to go over the simple explanation for body weight, because body weight always comes down to a simple explanation, and it's so powerful to understand. The simple explanation is our body weight comes down to how much energy we put into our bodies and how much energy that our bodies use. And so what do we mean when we say energy? Well, let's think of a simple example, because that always helps me. So here's a car. Draw kind of a boxy car. And we all know that you put gas into a car. Why? Well, it's because that gas has the energy that a car needs to drive along the road. So here's a gas gauge, and this will be important later. It's like an energy meter. And everyone has seen it when you go to the gas station, add gas to your car, it fills the car up with gas. When we think about energy, our bodies actually aren't that different from a car. So I'm going to draw a little person down here. So this is our body. We both need energy in, like we talked about. And while a car gets that energy from gas, we get that energy from food. And that's the simple energy in. There's only one way we can put energy into our body, and that's food. So almost like a car has a gas gauge, for the purposes of this educational video, we can think of our body as having an energy gauge. And so we know that we get our energy from food. That's the one way. So as we eat food, we can think of that energy gauge as filling. Great. Now that we understand that, we can think about the second half of the equation. And let's return to our example of a car. And I realized I wasn't specific enough in this. Well, this actually has to be a running car. So our bodies are similar to a running car. So here's some exhausts, and now we know it's a running car. And so what does a running car do with the energy that it gets from gas? Well, there are two things. The most obvious is that a gas provides energy so that a car can move. That's pretty simple. If you've ever been around a running car that's not moving and happen to look under the hood, you'd see something like this. And you'd realize that the engine is still humming quietly and still using a little bit of energy. So even when the car isn't moving, it still uses a little bit of its gasoline energy that it put in. Well, humans actually use energy in the same two ways. So just like a running car, we need a little bit of energy in order to stay alive, even if we're not moving a muscle. This is a person who's lying on a bed, not moving a muscle. They're awake, but not moving a muscle. So just like a running car, remember, there are things going on inside of a person's body that require energy just to stay alive. So things like this person's heart is beating, this person's lungs are moving up and down, and all these things take a little bit of energy, so just to lie totally still. And so that's one way that our body uses energy, and we'll just call that the energy to survive. But we know that we don't want to lie in bed all day, so that's where the second way that we use energy comes in, and that's for movement, for exercise. So anytime we want to move, anytime we want to make some sort of motion, just like a car drives, that's the second reason that we'll need energy. We'll talk about how much energy some of these different activities take in another video, but first let's return to the fact that now we understand energy comes into our body as we eat food, and we use energy in two ways. One is just to keep our body running, to stay alive, kind of like a car idles. And secondly, just like a car drives, we move. So then the next question, so what does it have to do with body weight? Well, in the next segment, what we're going to talk about is how this balance between energy in and energy out affects our body weight. And I think it's, if you think about it, if you put more energy into your body than you put out, that's when you're gaining body weight. And when you take more energy out of your body than you're putting in, that's when you're losing body weight. And so that's what we're going to go into in depth in the next video.